So today's topic is racism or bias or judgmentalism or whatever, I guess, today's show. So in America, hate speech is not illegal. So you can say hate speech. And then I live in Japan, and hate speech here, I think, might be illegal, or they don't enforce it. I'm not sure, or whatever. But I'm I'm I guess I'm not going to focus on. I want to stay to the topic. So I really wanted to cover racism. So you know, I'm not famous, so I won't get any views hardly or anything. Or I'm not doing this to become famous or whatever. I'm just going to speak about my experience with racism. So, what happened was I was in Japan, and 2 weeks ago, I'm sitting at this table talking to this person, and this white girl walks up to me, and she goes, "You white." She could tell by my speech that I was an American, my accent, or I have an American accent. Maybe I'm not an American, but I have an American accent. So, anyways, she goes, "You privileged white privilege," started ranking on me for being a white male and how I had it so great and how they treated the Native Americans so horribly and all that stuff. And she was a white girl, and she was an Australian. And so I guess their indigenous tribes got treated bad. And then so she started going off on me, yelling at me, talking about how I'm this white privileged guy, and all the horrible things that we did to the Native Americans in America, which is absolutely true. We killed off, well, I didn't do it, but the people before me, the settlers or immigrants or whatever, they killed off 97% of the population in the United States of Native Americans. And then also they killed off not high 90s% of the net of the population that lived there. So the invaders from other countries from Europe murdered 97% of the population. That's the truth. But she comes up to me and she's spouting all this stuff off. And I said, "I'm part Native American." And I go, that shut her down. I mean, I go, "I am part Native American genetically. I am part, I have paperwork. So from my tribe, I have paperwork that says legally, biologically, I'm a certain percentage of Native American. I'm a mixed race. I'm some other races too." But so I told her that. I said, I said I'm part Native American, and then she didn't. She just dropped it right there. But yeah, she left it alone. But that was surprising. I wasn't expecting a white girl to come up to say how lucky I am, or privileged white male, blah 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 blah, all the stuff. I don't know. I mean, maybe she was molested and she had an attitude against white guys. I don't know. Maybe, or she had a white boyfriend, or she just had it out for white men. So racism. What country? I guess I can start off with Japan. So I had that incident with a white girl. Then if you look at housing, like I said, hate speech isn't in America or in Japan is not illegal. So you can get away with hateful things. But far as I know about the law, which is a whole nother video I could do, is you can sue somebody for slandering you or bad mouthing or you or whatever. So if you want, you could probably sue a person a certain way for saying derogatory things. So and then so there's like a person called a racist, which is interesting because racist means that person is biased or they have an attitude and they judge other people by racist, by that makes them a racist, which is kind of interesting because like you have a scientist, right? So a scientist you regard as someone as being highly intelligent and scientists or they study science, right? Or you have a biologist and so they study biology. But a racist, instead of it being like, well, this person is an expert on different races and skin colors and this and that, it's actually a derogatory term. So if you call somebody a racist, it's a derogatory term. So back on Japan, my experiences, I was attacked twice. I don't know, they could have been Chinese or Korean or Vietnamese, I don't know, but I was attacked by Asian people. I've been attacked twice so far because I look different. I've had a knife pulled on me once. A couple of years ago, this guy pulled a knife. It wasn't that big, it was about 5 inches long, and he pulled a knife on me. And I just looked at him and I thought I can get in a knife fight with you. I know how to do that. I can go there. That's another story, but I just kind of looked at him like he was crazy, which absolutely he was, to pull a knife on me. And so I just kind of ignored him. And I know that he was Vietnamese, and then he started laughing and then ended there. It ended there. The other time, this guy, I don't know if he was Japanese or Korean or whatever, but he grabbed me by my shirt collar and he started shaking me back and forth like this. So he's grabbing me by my shirt collar. And from what I know about the law in this country is if you get in an altercation with the Japanese person and you're a foreigner, you're probably going to lose in court, whether you're right or wrong or whatever, from the cases that I've heard and everything. So, plus I'm not, the Japanese law on the books, from what I know, is you have to prove that you did everything you possibly could to avoid getting in a fight, to getting in an altercation. You have to prove illegally that you did everything you could to avoid a fight. So this guy's doing this, trying to physically pick a fight with me, and knowing the law and everything, I just kept resisting and letting him grab me by the collar and shaking me around. And I'm just hoping that somebody else or something else would intervene. This guy came up behind me in a train station. It was just me and him, and it was empty. And it was way out in the countryside. It was in Chiba, yeah. And so luckily, the station staff and one police officer showed up within 45 seconds or a minute of the beginning of that altercation. And so they grabbed him and they pulled him off, and then he was trying to throw sidekicks at me and stuff while they had him restrained. And then they didn't do anything. Like, the police didn't press charges, or the police didn't have me fill out a report, or the only thing that happened was that they got us separated and the guy left the train station, and then I left afterwards, kind of on guard after that happened. And um and I did nothing to start that. I mean, he just grabbed me and started doing that. And then also, I think if they can sue you, or if you end in a fight in Japan, you can wind up being in a lawsuit, and you can get sued for a lot of money if you get in a fight, and it's proven. You have to prove that you went out of your way to avoid a fight. So that's one of the laws. One of the other things I've noticed is that, like, if you're renting a property, it'll say it's okay, foreigner okay, it's okay for foreigners to live here. So, in other words, that means that as a foreigner, you're allowed to live in that area. So that means that some of the people that are Japanese don't want foreigners living next to them, because that's why they say that. You can check in the rental thing and everything. So what happened was, this was in Kawagoe, and this was during the pandemic, so it was a horrible time. I just came back from Vietnam, and I'm freaked out, and I got an apartment in Kawagoe that a friend of mine that was an actor, that was a German, racist. He was definitely a racist for sure. But he said it would be fine for me to live there, and it'd be okay for foreigners to live there. So I fill out all the paperwork, and I pay for the deposit and all that stuff and all that, and then I move in. Well, he tells me the parking spot in front of the place is, I'm entitled to it, and not to let the girl park there. I guess there's a girl that would normally park there, and so I started parking there, and then there was her father, I think it was, or whatever. He started getting upset, and he started calling me a gaijin and racial slurs and all that stuff, and he was yelling at me all the time, and I just ignored him. But the walls are thin in Japan, so I could hear him yelling and all that stuff. And I called the American embassy. I said, "What do I do?" And they said, "Well, just call the police." The embassy didn't want anything to do with it, and they said, "Oh, that's sad." And I called the embassy a few times. They're like, "Oh, that's sad. That's too bad that happens," or whatever that's happening. So one time it was so bad, I called the police, and then they went and talked to him, talked to me a little bit, and then everything was quiet for a few days, and then he started again on his racist rants and calling me a gaijin, and trying to pick a fight with me and yelling at me and stuff. And I thought, well, when is the knife going to come out? How far is this going to go? I mean, if someone's off their rocker and they're that upset, when are they going to go? When are they going to cross that line? Because I've dealt with, I used to live in the States, so I've dealt with a lot of people that are, I'm not saying I'm completely mentally sane or whatever, but anyway, so yes, I know that altercations can escalate into really bad scenarios. So I was thinking, God, maybe eventually this guy's going to pull a knife, and it's going to get real, or something's going to happen, because they don't have guns here, pretty rare. So in the States, I'd worry about the person shooting me. So, anyways, I went to the rental office And I told him the situation, and I said that I don't want to get in an argument, and I don't want to get in trouble, and I don't want anything to happen, but I don't feel safe living here, and I think that the situation might escalate. And they actually apologized in that case, and they let me move out, and I didn't get charged a penalty or an extra charge or anything like that. But yeah, that was during the pandemic, and then I was homeless for a while, and then oh god, that was a mess. But anyway, so that time, then I've had him say gaijin to me quite a bit, and I'm used to that. But I don't get it too often, but I get the occasional gaijin. I used to get it a lot years ago, but I think there's so many foreigners here now because the yen is so low that there's many foreigners here, so they'd spend all day saying gaijin or whatever. So gaijin just means foreigner, but it's like a derogatory term, like gai gokujin is the proper way to say it, to be polite, to say you're a foreigner. So yeah. So yeah, I guess I've felt some discrimination at times here and there, and like I said, I was attacked. Um, but I have to realize. I mean, part of it is I realize is it's 97%, or maybe it used to be higher, 98, 90. I think it's 97% now. Japanese people that live here, so obviously I stick out. So that kind of, if I live here and I choose to live here, it kind of goes with the territory. It's like I look different than 97% of the population, you know? And so I physically look different. So it's kind of like I just I just accept it that I look different than 97% of the population. So of course they're gonna look at me or stare at me or whatever, and sometimes the guys give me dirty looks, like they want to get in a fight, and like they would have no idea what they're fighting if they picked a fight with me. Then the next door neighbor across, sometimes I can hear him doing karate screams, like for different karate moves and all that stuff. I don't know if he has a dojo or what, but I can hear him spilling it out, his voice over here. And sometimes it's been at 7 or 8 in the morning. He's been yelling his karate moves and all that stuff. And these people like they want to pick a fight with me, and they have no idea what I'm trained in or what I am. I mean, yeah, I don't want to go there. I'll go into that later when I talk into the American side of the racism and all that. So I've experienced some discrimination, and then I've had other foreigners say they have, and then other foreigners say, oh, they've had absolutely no, they haven't felt any discrimination at all. Yeah. So I've felt some discrimination here, but I look different than most of the population, so it kind of goes with the territory. Most people are polite, uh, and I feel safe here. Like I don't, compared to I can go to an area like a beach or a park or somewhere, and I feel safer here than I do in America. When I used to live in America, I feel safer in this country than I do my the country I'm from America and Canada. I lived in Canada for a while, and so even with all that, I still feel safer here, and I feel like it's a safe country, and the trains run on schedule and everything, and I haven't seen many altercations or conflicts, and considering how crowded it is, I live in the most crowded city in the world, or Tokyo is probably one of the most crowded cities in the world. Um, yeah, so I feel safe here, and then the air's clean, and then I like the food, and so the culture's okay. So I don't have a problem with it. It's like a slight discomfort. Altercations with the police. So someone hit me with scopolamine, and the police showed up. So I was set up where I live at, and the police showed up. I can't even walk. They hit me with scopolamine. I know, and I'm laying on my back in the rain. And you would think normally if you see somebody laying on their back in the rain by a bus stop, which I was waiting for the bus, that you would call an ambulance and offer them help. But the police showed up and they didn't offer to call an ambulance, and they started harassing me, and they went through my wallet, and they did everything they could to pick a fight with me. The police tried to pick a fight with me, and I've lived here off and on for years, and I've never had the police try to pick a fight with me. I've always been, I show them my ID and we talk and we exchange information or whatever. If they have questions about, whether I'm legitimately here or I'm overstaying my visa or whatever, right? So I haven't had a time before. I just show them my ID if they have any questions or whatever. I haven't felt, some foreigners I've talked to have felt like that. They felt like the police went out of their way, and maybe they do in those areas and everything. But I just had that one situation where the police were deliberately trying to pick a fight with me. They went through my wallet and everything. One of the officers dropped my cell phone on the ground, and he started laughing because it didn't break, because I have Gorilla Glass on the phone I'm using right now. It's the one phone that you're looking at right now. It's the one he dropped on the ground, and he thought it was funny, and he was surprised that it didn't break. So then they're like, they finally offered me, do I want to go to the hospital? And I'm like, I know I got hit with scopolamine. I know what happened. And so I figured I would just go home. So I had to crawl from the bus stop, like 200 meters, 250 meters, crawl from the bus stop and uh, up 3 flights of stairs into my room. And then they closed the door, and that was it. I don't know, maybe they'll talk to my landlord after that. And then I think 4 or 5 hours, I think it was an officer opened the door, looked at me, and then closed the door. And then that was it. That was the end of that. So, yeah. And I've left my bag on the train a few times, and I've gotten it back. One time I lost my wallet on the way to the gym. It fell out of my pocket. I didn't notice that I lost my wallet. 3 days later, I got my wallet back with my ID, with my credit cards, with none of them, no money charged on them. I got my wallet, my ID, and everything back. And so safety. I haven't, and I've backpack and stuff on the train before I forgot it, and then it turns up at the train station and someone turns it in. So I haven't had anybody steal anything from me. One time I was in Shibuya and I did see a guy. He was a foreigner, Middle Easterner, and he came up and he bumped into this Japanese businessman. I saw this happen in Shibuya. Bumped into him, and then he patted him on the shoulder, and at the same time he was patting him on the shoulder, he was pulling the wallet out of the Japanese business guy's pocket, and I could see this. I saw it happen. So, um, I at that point I was thinking maybe I should intervene, but it was weird because the police box, the Koban, the main Koban, it was by Hachiko Square, main Koban, the police box, they didn't catch it. The guy didn't realize what happened, and then the light changed, so it would have been too late for me to do anything about it. So I stayed out of that one. Oh yeah, another time I left my cell phone in the store. I was checking out a product. I left my cell phone in the store. Forgot that I left my cell phone in the store. Got home, realized I didn't have my cell phone, and I thought automatically it was boosted coming from the States. You know, I thought it was boosted. But yeah, maybe we'll go to this so it'll be less shaky. So, I thought it was boosted, and so I electronically disabled my phone to where they wouldn't be able to use it if it was being used for nefarious purposes. And then, sure enough, I filled out a form with Shibuya Police. That's where it happened. And it turns out, yeah, I just was shopping. I left my cell phone. Somebody found it in the store. They turned it in, and I got my cell phone back. So that was a situation where, so that's super duper safety. Because in the country I come from, and some other countries I've been in, um, um, they will snag your cell phone. They will steal your cell phone. So that's a miracle. I got my cell phone back. But it wasn't like an iPhone. I've always been an Android guy because that's another stereo. Maybe I'm biasing on that. So racism in America. So, um, so in America, um, um, what happened was grades 1 through 4. Everybody was predominantly the same race and whatever. And then we went to the same school, and I didn't have racism. I had a bully kid. He's like 2 feet taller than me, and he's 2 feet taller than me, and he would harass me every day on my way to school. And he's like 2 feet taller, and I don't know, he was 2 or 3 years older. And what I did was I just turned around and I punched him as hard as I freaking could in the nose. I busted his nose really good. And he left me alone after that. So I had to go to that place. So anyways, that was before. So 1 through 4, I didn't experience racism. Now 5, 6, 7, I got bused to a school where people were a different skin color than me. And then I got in fights because of my skin color. And my first day was, I remember it specifically, I was trying to find my way to my class. And I go to the top of the stairs, and I'm looking at the paperwork and the class number and everything. And this kid goes, "It's White Rabbit Day. You have to go back down to the bottom of the stairs and use the other stairway." And I just grabbed him by the hair, and I threw him down the stairs. So, that's gotta hurt. That hurt. I mean, I know that hurt to go flying down their concrete stairs. Probably 15, 20 of them. Threw them down the stairs. And then after that, I'm heading to my bus. He shows up, 4 other guys. Then I'm fighting with them. And I'm doing okay. I mean, I'm holding my own. And then this one, they call it a portable or whatever, he jumped off a portable. And so he jumped on my back, and then I was on the ground. And then once I was on the ground, they started kicking me in the ribs and kicking me and stuff and all that, but not hard enough to bust me up. But they were kicking me and everything and punching me and hitting me once they had me on the ground. So that was my introduction to a different school, to junior high school. So because of my skin color, because of being white in America, I I I got in constant fights all the time. It was like when I was going to that school, I was wondering, am I going to school to get an education, or am I just going here to learn how to fight better and become a street fighter? It's like it is constantly, like once or twice a week, I was in fights with people. And I wasn't a member of a gang or a group or anything, so I didn't have any protection. So it was me against one, two, or three people. For some reason, the fights that I would seem to get in uh, weren't just one on one. They was usually involved several people that would gang up on me. But I fought, and sometimes I won. Sometimes I would win the fight, and sometimes I wouldn't win the fight, and I'd get my butt kicked. So I became pretty good experience through having to fight like that, and then finally, what I did. I'm not going to talk about what I did, but I got myself kicked out of every school in the United States of America. Every public school in that country I was banished from. I'm not going to tell you what I did, but I got myself kicked out of every frickin' school. So that was over. That was done. So then I got the alternative was, go to a different country or go to a private school. So my parents opted for private school. You think if your parents care about your kid, they when you come home with black eyes and bruises and scrapes and everything from school all the time, you think they'd care about you enough to send you to a different school. But what it took me was it took me, I had to do something to get myself kicked out of every school.